What's up, guys? It's Lazy Goldmaker. Today we're going to talk about something that's going to be potentially a lot more relevant with 10.1, and that's disenchanting. Because as I talked about in my last video on 10.1, we have the new recipes coming in that's going to use enchanting materials. Going to need resonant crystals, going to need vibrant shards, going to need all of that jazz for the new crests, which means that now is the perfect time to set up a character for disenchanting so you can generate these for yourself, whether you want to do that right now. It is profitable right now, as far as I can tell, for some items, or just to have a character ready to go when 10.1 rolls around. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with what an enchanting shuffle is, a shuffle is pretty simple. You buy materials, usually cloth is what it typically is. You craft an item, and you disenchant them. So typically you're going to craft tons and tons and tons of items and disenchant them all, and then sell all the dust and shards you end up with. As long as the price you pay for the raw materials is less than what you can get from the enchanting materials that's generated, that's going to be a nice profit. This is generally something that requires a decent amount of time, because while you're going to craft each item, that's going to take a second or two, and then you need disenchanting, which is also going to take it a second or two. And that's going to really stack up. But it is fairly safe typically, because you're selling something that sells really, really fast and the price doesn't vary that much, and you can sell out an hour's work of shuffling. You can sell that in 5 minutes or less. So it's pretty consistent and pretty nice for entry level. It doesn't really require much investment at all, both in terms of gold and in terms of time, so that's the good part. Now, if you want to do it in Dragonflight, there's this node right here, which you pretty much need to max. Every point here gives you a 1% chance of getting additional reagents, and then there are there's one node here that gives you another plus 5% chance, and they're very important. And then you have the end node here, which gives you a chance of getting resonant crystals when you disenchant weapons. Now, sadly, based on the data I've seen, this is not worth it right now, but it does give you about 1 in 33 chance of getting a resonant crystal. That's what KCH's seen in his testing. And it requires 50 points. Now, you do want to put the 40 points. You want to max this out anyway for the chance of getting additional reagents, even if you're disenchanting armor. So it's this one is something you want to max out anyway. So what we want to figure out for doing this is what are the cheapest items you can possibly craft. So the cheapest items I could find, the pendant of impending perils. You can get this for about 7 gold crafting cost with the cheapest possible materials. And then you have the one that I find that was even cheaper, the Surveyor's Cloth Band from Tailoring. You can craft this for about 5.5 gold. This is pretty much the cheapest you can get a rare piece. This is a piece of armor, which means you're not getting the chance of resonant crystals. Based on looking at all of the weapons I could find for my professions, as of today, as of right now, it's not worth crafting weapons to disenchant. They're all too expensive. The cheapest I found was like 60 gold for a weapon, but the end node from Draconic Disenchantment only adds about 8 extra gold per disenchant on average. Which is not enough. Like, you'd still need it to cost less than 15 gold for the craft for it to be profitable, which is not the case. Which is not the case at all, sadly. So I've made a Google sheet, which is what we do to help you figure out. So you can click here at the bottom, pick if you're crafting a weapon or armor. We're assuming that you have the full maxed out the Draconic Disenchantment node. Then you put in the prices: chromatic dust, vibrant shard, resonant crystals. It's going to calculate the disenchant value. If I set this to weapon, you see it's going to go up by about 6 gold on average. And then you put in the price of the crafted item. So if I wanted to put in the 5.5 gold from crafting the Surveyor's Cloth Bands, we can see that on average I'm making about 7 gold per disenchant, and that's a 140% profit margin. So this is pretty good. This is pretty good. Obviously, it's fairly slow, as I said, but it's gold for every disenchant, which is nice. And also, as if from those of you who watched my video on whether or not you should stock up, you might have noticed that vibrant shards is like the from that snapshot is the most bottlenecky material in terms of the new crest crafts. Which means that you don't have to generate resonant crystals for this. Just vibrant shards is going to be pretty good. It's going to be pretty good. Now, big question: do you stock up? Do you start crafting these right now? Do you do the shuffle? I mean, this shuffle is a nice entry-level gold making method. You're just investing 5 gold per item. You can do this at 10,000 gold. You can do this with 1,000 gold. You're going to probably make a profit. So I'd say get a disenchanting character ready if you haven't already. And then you're ready to potentially ramp up in 10.1 if it turns out that demand is very high. If you like risk and you have a lot of gold, then you maybe want to keep some enchanting materials lying around and keep them for the patch and see if they go up. But I'm not personally going to do any big stocking. I think this is items that may be a little bit too easy to mass produce, but I think that even just doing this right now with a Surveyor's Cloth Band is something that's going to be a pretty good idea for many of you, so I'd suggest doing that, particularly for those of you who are on the beginner end of the scale and don't have much gold. This is some generally speaking, some stable, safe, boring gold, but it works.